Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely stream deck. For more information about the stream deck, the link is in the description below.
Hello everyone and welcome to another round of AOR F2 action. We are here for round 2 of the Monaco Grand Prix in, of course, Monaco, around the very tight and twisty streets, as qualifying is already underway due to some technical issues that delayed us a little bit, but nevertheless we are here with 15 minutes left. I am Fizzymon. Alongside me, as always, is Ladder, and we would like to welcome you to the qualifying session. Ladder, would you like to fill us in on what's happened?
And has just gone faster than Bogan, who set the first lap time. Sirpos coming across the line now in the Ferrari and goes fastest with a 108.909. Everyone just getting some cider laps done here, and Bailey Thompson on a set of medium tyres just went pretty quickly, a 109.414. Now, I wouldn't expect anyone to actually qualify on those medium tyres for their fastest lap time because, of course, track position is king in Monaco, and you don't really want to be running the alternate strategy if you can possibly help it. But that's a very fast lap time considering he's on the mediums compared to all the other guys on the soft tire.
Yeah, it is a very quick lap, that 109.4 for the medium tires. I have seen some of the times that some of these guys have done in practice and stuff, so I do expect the times to continue to drop. That 108.9 is definitely a solid banker lap for Sipos Patrick with that almost half a second clear in the front, but I know he and I'm sure a lot of these other drivers go very fast around here, but as we both know, it is not easy to say to be able to go fast. As like Bailey Thompson had an off in the Novell chicane. Not sure what happened there, but I guess he might have been moving out of the way or whatnot.
Yeah, his teammate Zoran is currently the only driver out there on a push lap. Most people having set a lap time head back into the pit. Some people are yet to set a lap time, but the only one currently pushing out there is Zoran, the Hungarian, in the Renault. And the story of him this season is that he's been super consistent. He hasn't been involved in basically any incidents apart from when he got punted off the road at the Dutch Grand Prix in Turn 1. And he's really just avoided penalties everywhere. And that's even harder to do at Monaco than it is a lot of other places. Particularly, it is difficult to avoid making contact with the wall, of course, but there are plenty of points where you can cut corners as well. So it's a whole new challenge for Zoran to see if he can live up to his reputation of keeping things clean. And if he does, he may well be in for another podium finish this time out. He comes across the line now, a 109.923. Not the best opening lap time from Zoran, puts him just behind Horpa, who will also be pretty disappointed with his opening effort.
Yeah, definitely feel like that these drivers are figuring out how hard Monaco is right now, and it'll be interesting to see if these guys can nail laps, because I don't know about you, but I know if I drive a lap around this track, oh my gosh, getting it right is horrible, and if you make one mistake on one corner, you easily could lose up to half a second in some cases. So these guys, I mean, this is really going to be who can nail it the best, and who can really like get to the front where position matters around here.
Absolutely, yeah. This qualifying session is probably the most important of the year. So these guys will be desperately trying. They'll be sweating so hard, just trying to get this absolutely nailed. Hittinen is the one on the flyer at the moment in the Williams, coming through Raskas, and now Anthony knows the final corner. Runs a little bit wide through there. He will have compromised his speed, his minimum speed through there as he comes across the line and actually goes second with a 109.229. He was purple in sector 1 and 2. And so that was a very, very good effort indeed from the Williams driver. Lost a little bit in Sector 3. Iceman out there pushing in the AlphaTauri, but he's already invalidated. Fire in the sister team, the Red Bull. The Frenchman is out there as well, going for a flying lap.
Yeah, I actually just did figure out how to change the camera view, so that's why no one just saw the end of it. And this Fire goes purple in the middle sector. Not sure if that's visual glitch or not. Hopefully not for his sake, but we'll take a look at how he finishes his lap as he comes out around the final corner. Pretty good exit, a little bit of wheel spin there, but not too much. He's coming across the line. What will it be? It'll be provisional P2 with a purple final sector. So yeah, that was a pretty quick lap by the Red Bull driver. Was it a 109.3 to 109.2? I'm not sure. I have the gap to leader on. 109.188 actually. An impressive lap for the Red Bull driver. But still, no one's gotten close to Sipos Patrick in the Ferrari up top.
Everyone, almost everyone, is out there pushing now. So the second set of lap times for the vast majority of the field are about to be registered. Bogan coming through. His teammates actually gone 2 places ahead of him, of course. And Bogan looked good in qualifying last time out, coming up to the line now. And he goes up to P2, goes ahead of Fire, but still not really tickling the rear end of Sipos, who has a comfortable margin to the rest of the field for the time being. What can Gelbervan do? He's invalidated, so not very much. Bailey Thompson in the Renault after a decent lap time on those mediums has now strapped on a set of the Red Walled soft tire as he enters the Nouvelle chicane. So he's definitely one to watch to maybe try and displace Sipos from the top of the order at the moment. Ran a little bit wide through to back, and that will have lost him a little bit of time. Really flirting with danger through the piscine section. Now into Raskas, and no problem there. Anthony Noj looked pretty clean and tidy as well. Up towards the line for the Renault as Iceman goes second. Bailey Thompson goes third. 5 thousandths of a second slower than the Macedonian in the AlphaTauri.
Yeah, very impressive laps. Once again, Sipos Patrick still up top after the session as he begins his next flying lap. Beautifully takes turn 1, barely loses any speed as he climbs up the hill through the long left-hander of, is that the Casino Square? No. I gotta pull up the track map, I apologize.
The left-hander is Massenet. We're now into the Casino Square and out of it again as we enter Mirabeau before the Lowe's hairpin here.
Alright, well, would you like to take over his lap from here so we can ride on board with him and see how he does it after going purple in Sector 1?
All right, through Portier we go now, the entry to the tunnel. You have to make sure you don't try and accelerate on the curbing on the left-hand side because that can really throw the balance of the car out of whack. Now, very tough braking zone into the Nouvelle chicane. Downhills, you have to brake earlier than you think, and Sipos didn't brake early enough. He's cut the chicane and picked up a warning for it, and as a result, this lap will be invalidated. So Sipos will not be able to improve this time around on his provisional best lap time, but I don't think that's going to be concerning him too much when he still has about 0.2 of a second gap to the rest of the field. And in fact, he's going to go for another push lap straight away afterwards, not going back into the pits. He's got 8 minutes remaining, has plenty of time to keep pounding round on this set of tyres, although he won't want to start the race on an unnecessarily worn set of tyres, as this one has now done 2 push laps, or will have done 2 push laps.
Yeah, and he's also, I can see on his dash right now, he's pretty low on ERS, which he doesn't really need as he's 6 times off his pace, so I think this must be just doing in-lap right now. Might have just been trying to say, all right, I'm still on pole, I want to see what I can do for this lap anyways after invalidating it. So I guess he's more likely, I believe, coming into the pits now, because he just doesn't, I don't think he has enough ERS to do the lap, but he is on a lap right now, is Hittinen, who was able to get around his teammate Bogan, so doesn't have to worry about getting blocked there. He's got a bunch of clean air for the Williams driver.
A second down, though. Second down on his current best lap time, so he is not improving at the moment, is the Finn. Further behind, Horpa and Zoran both pushing. Chanakinchi as well, who looked very strong last time out, but had some very decent points and potentially a podium finish torn away from him by an incident in the race in Spain, as he's now heading through to back. That looked pretty committed through there. Again, the track map tells us he's purple through Sector 2, but I don't know whether to believe it. Swimming pool section, all neat and tidy. And then through Raskas, calm as you like. A little bit wide through Anthony Noj once again, but very, very smooth on the exit. And up towards the line comes the McLaren. And that's P2 for him, and that's closer now. That's more like it. As Chanakinchi goes very close to Sipos Patrick, but cannot quite displace the Hungarian.
Yeah, very strong lap there as Gelderman looks to start a lap. Horpa just crossed the line. I don't think he really improved on his lap as he drops now down to P12. But Zoran just popped up to P11 after a nice and tidy lap as Fire retires on track in the swimming pool section, coming out of turn 14. Yeah, that is bound to happen, and I'm sure a bunch of these drivers currently on laps right now, like I believe Bogan might have some issues if that car is still parked on the track when he arrives to it.
Yeah, he should be able to drive through it, but it can really take your head out of the game if you see that car stricken in the middle of the road. The natural reaction is to try and avoid it. So, yeah, thankfully it has been cleared away before Bogan will come up to it. Now, Bogan, of course, managed pole last time out in Spain and is going considerably faster than his best effort on this, his 3rd attempt as a flying lap here in Monaco. Through Raskas. And now the final corner, Anthony Noj, once again favoring that sort of wider entry through there. That'll open up the exit, get you better traction. Up towards the line, it's a 108.720. 0.4 of a second faster than anything he had managed to do thus far. And now there is a new bar. Sipos Patrick has finally been beaten with 5 minutes remaining in the session. Who else is out there pushing? Hittonen's still out there, but I think he'll have backed off after doing 2 flying laps on that set of tyres. Just behind him is Iceman in the Alpha Tauri, who is going again on a fresh set of tyres, currently sitting P5 and on a 109.0 as he actually moves down to P6 with Oxygen moving ahead of Sipos Patrick as well. Now the Red Bull driver managed 10th last time out, but definitely didn't show front running pace. However, this is looking a little bit better for him.
And Prosty just took away P2 there. Bailey Thompson goes P3. But the fast times are starting to come in now. Sipos Patrick's going to want to get back out on track. Well, he is now, but he wants to get a move on. He's going to need to nail this lap as the times are really coming down now. As great job for Oxygen, Bailey Thompson, and Prosty. You know, some very strong laps. Like Oxygen, I believe, started outside the top 10. What did you just catch?
Iceman onto pole position. The Macedonian takes it away from Bogan by 0.006 of a second. And I tell you what, he wasn't that much up on his best time through the first couple of sectors, but he must have nailed Sector 3 there to be able to take provisional pole away. The track is definitely coming to these drivers, and I'm sure they are mentally far more prepared, far more confident now. It takes a couple of laps in Monaco just to reassess the situation, to remind yourself that you do know how to drive and that you can push the limits. And that is what these guys are now willing to do at this stage of qualifying. And Sipos, all of a sudden, after looking indomitable at the top for the majority of qualifying, currently sitting down in P6, but about to start yet another flying lap in the Ferrari.
Yeah, we'll see if he can put together the lap. I think his trick is going to be, does he invalidate the Nobel chicane? Because if he can keep that on track, because the line he was taking was a very quick line, but if you cut it too much, you will invalidate it, and that looked like it to be his issue on his previous lap. As he goes purple in Sector 1, he's 2/10 up on his lap. He is flying out there.
Yeah, if he can continue that trend for the remainder of the lap as he runs a little bit too deep into the Lowe's hairpin, that will have cost him maybe a tenth, maybe a couple of tenths. So Sipos making a small mistake there, I believe. But if he can continue that level of improvement that he showed in Sector 1 throughout the remainder of the lap, he'll be looking at reclaiming that pole position. No doubt about it. Into the Nouvelle Chicane where he made the mistake last time around. This time, no mistake made. Snap of oversteer on the exit. That brought him very close to the barrier as he corrected, steering left into a right-hander. And that will have lost him just a tad bit more time as well. He's currently only 1.5 tenths up on his time. So a slightly messy Sector 2 for the Hungarian, costing him a little bit here. However, if he nails Sector 3, he will still be on track to claim provisional pole as he comes up towards the line now, and it is by a huge margin. Half a second's worth of improvement on his best time, and he's 0.3 of a second faster than Iceman in P2.
I do not think you could have had a much cleaner Sector 3. He did not have any issues going through the swimming pool section, and then out of Anthony Nodge's absolutely no rear wheel spin. He just straight up put the power down, kept the car in a straight line. Beautiful job for the Hungarian, and absolutely a stellar lap. It'll be hard to see if it'll be hard for all these other drivers to beat that time, but my goodness, that was absolutely insane.
Horpa goes up to P4. That's a bit more like it from the Spaniard. Didn't have as much pace as he would have liked at his home Grand Prix last time out, and it was hard to show it as well after he didn't manage to string a single clean lap together in qualifying and had to start right from the back of the grid. However, we know this guy has pace. He's shown it on every occasion thus far this season. And yeah, and that was in the stronger previous F2 field, many of whom have now graduated up to F1. So Horpa definitely wants to be winning races now. And qualifying in P4 is a little bit better than he was looking thus far in this session. But we know that he likes to hit the wall, or he doesn't like to, but he tends to hit the wall. And around Monaco, that's going to be so much more difficult to avoid as Sipos Patrick decides he's not going to go any faster, and he probably doesn't need to, as he retires from the session. And Chanakinchi, who was out there pushing, has been held up in the final sector. I think that was the Alpha Tauri behind that has compromised him there, but nevertheless he goes faster and up into P2, but he might have been able to challenge for pole if it hadn't been for that issue. I think that was Prostychek holding him up through Raskas.
I caught the tail end of that when he was coming out of Anthony Nodge's. But I saw on the minimap there are 4 cars trying to go through the Raskas, and it was just like, holy cow, that is not going to work. And I'm glad to see he was still able to get up to P2 there. I mean, that was still a phenomenal lap, but I'm sure he'll be pretty heated under the cockpit after getting a little held up there.
Yeah, definitely. It was just, Prostychek was trying to get out of the way on the left-hand side, but you need to use all of the outside of La Rascasse on the exit if you want to carry any speed through there at all, as Bogan crashes into the wall in the casino square and compromises his last attempt at trying to snatch back pole position, which he claimed in Spain. He will not be able to do so here in Monaco, but he has kept all the wheels on his wagon. It's not going to matter much, though. Iceman has invalidated his lap, so qualifying is over for him. Chanakinchi won't be able to improve either. Prostychek into the pits. What can Bailey Thompson do in the Renault? He's looking like the most likely challenger to snatch a high grid position here. He looked very promising at the very beginning of qualifying on that medium set of tires, and he's able to go faster and faster on these softs. He's currently, after Sector 1, about 1.5 tenths up on his previous best effort. Let's see what it's going to look like when he comes towards the end of Sector 2. Into Tabac we go as Hittinen goes second in the Williams. The Finnish driver showing a good moment of form here as he wasn't able to participate last time out of the Spanish Grand Prix. Bailey Thompson had a poor Sector 2, so it's all up to his Sector 3 now to try and improve. It's just the 2 Renaults left. One of them coming up to the line now. What's it going to be for Bailey Thompson? It's the slightest of improvements, but it's not enough to claim another position. And Zoran has invalidated his lap and will have to back out. So he will not be starting any better than P12, and in fact will be starting from P12.
Yeah, it was a very insane qualifying session right there. Congratulations. It seems like we've lost you. I'll have to re-invite you to the lobby once we get into the formation lap. But It's got Sipos Patrick on pole with a 108.4, with P2 being hidden in a little over 2/10 clear. Chana Kinchi is in P3, Iceman P4, Bogan P5, Horpa P6, Prosty P7, Bailey Thompson P8, AOR Auction P9. Fire rounds out the top 10. As it was some favorites in the field like Dave Gaming struggled today. Him, Potato, who's starting from the back for the second race in the row. Sadly, this due his own doing. But it was definitely a very interesting qualifying session, as it looks like a ladder may have disconnected. So while we wait for the formation lap to start, I will play the little bit of a classic car drive in between Monaco, and we will be right back. I apologize.
No worries about that, as we will see Sipos and Hittinen. Hittinen very much new to the front row here in AOR F2, but Sipos has probably been here before by now. As the lights come on here in the Principality, with the Ferrari on pole, the lights go out quickly, and it looks like a good start for Sipos. He should be able to hold on to P1 with that one. Chana Kinchi looking to challenge the Williams of Hittinen into turn one, and in fact, I think that was Hittinen into the wall there. He might have picked up some front wing damage as his teammate makes his way past as well. Hittinen down to P4 with Sipos leading from Chana Kinchi. Bogan in third, Hittinen fourth, followed, I think, by Horpa there, or no, sorry, as the order will now reset itself. Look like a Williams going side by side with an Alfa Romeo there. That's Bailey Thompson up the inside into the hairpin on Horpa as they battle as hard as they can to try and claim what positions they can on the opening lap here in Monaco, which is such a huge opportunity for these drivers because overtaking is so hard to do and you need to get it done as early as possible. But it's a bad start for Hittinen from the front row.
As Horpa and Bailey Thompson just smash into each other in the wall. I'm not sure what Horpa's doing there, but it looks like he was not happy that Bailey Thompson just sent it up the inside into the hairpin. That was definitely not a great move on his part, but both of them have wing damage. There's a VSC now on the track, as I think Gelbovan just got a 5-second penalty as well, so looks like we'll see several pitters after lap one after just a chaotic start to that race.
Yeah, the small solace for those who do have to pit is that there is a virtual safety car, so they'll lose less time by pitting right now, but it's more about the track position you lose rather than the time, and because everyone's still so close together, you're going to lose an awful lot of track position around here. Now, I didn't see that issue between Horpa and Bailey Thompson going into the Nouvelle Chicane, so I can't pass judgment on it, but I hope that there was nothing untoward, and it was just a racing incident rather than anything else, but I can't possibly say.
Yeah, it was actually in the tunnel, like in the corner in turn 9. I don't know if Horpa had understeer and hit Bailey Thompson with the wall or whatnot, because Bailey Thompson had such a good exit out of Portier and just got all up on side Horpa. It was hard to tell because the camera was pointing behind us as we go back underway racing with Sipos Patrick in the lead right now, still with a 1.2 second margin over Shanna Kinshi. Sipos Patrick trying to run away with this race and see if he can get the win, which he did not get last week.
Indeed, yeah, Sipos got the win on track last time around, but it was Creo who won in the end because Sipos had those time penalties to contend with, and that lost him the first position he will have felt that he earned. And it would have been his second in a row, but it was not to be. But this is looking good to be his second of the season at the very least here for the time being. Çanakkale is behind him though, and he is definitely a fast driver there in the McLaren. The Turkish driver will be looking to pile pressure on the Hungarian up ahead if there's anything he has to say about it. Looks like Bailey Thompson has had another issue as he is now not bothering with the swimming pool chicane. I think he's probably heading into the pits to retire if I had to guess. The British driver in the Renault hard right into the pits, 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and I think he is, there it is, the retirement from the race. So not a good start to the race for him after that incident with Horpa and then another incident on his own into, I believe, Tabak. He has decided to call it a day early.
Yeah, he just absolutely smacked the wall there as Horpa is flying right now on those hard tires. But Bailey Thompson smacked the wall going through Tabak, and I figured he just decided that it was enough. This is already all the way far back, and being 2 pit stops behind after 2 laps is not great. As Shanna Kinshi's really trying to keep with Sipos Patrick. He's kept the gap similar to come through the final 2 corners. The McLaren driver showing that he has the pace to compete at the front after, like you said, the disappointing result in Spain due to the incident. As Shanna Kinsey is outpacing our race leader, Sipos Patrick. The two of them are just trying to run away right now. It's looking like a 2-horse race.
Yeah, he's outpacing him, but only just. But he is showing that he can hang with the Hungarian up at the front. Bogan falling away, as you mentioned. Hittinen looking like he could go faster if his teammate wasn't in the way, but unfortunately for him, he is. And I doubt Bogan's feeling like engaging in any team activities right now, as Hittinen comfortably behind him, and that is of course for the bottom step of the podium, and Bogan will desperately want that podium for himself. Iceman will be disappointed with the way qualifying went because he was looking good until the very end when he invalidated, so he'll be hoping that he can improve. Currently 2 seconds from the back of Hittinen at the moment, but he might be able to close that one down in the AlphaTauri. Then it's Oxygen in P6, who's surprised by looking pretty strong in certain parts of qualifying in that Red Bull, with Prosticek behind him as well. Gelbervan and Dave Gaming, the 2 medium tire runners, they've gained a few positions off the start, so they won't be feeling too bad about their chances. The skies are looking awfully dark around here as well, so I just wonder if there might be a little bit of rain in the air towards the end of this race, as Gelbervan picks up a 3-second time penalty and Sipos manages to extend the gap to Çanakkale by about 0.6 of a second on that previous lap.
Yes, Sipos Patrick's trying to now flex the muscle. Chan's doing the best he can. Not sure how the McLaren driver's looking on DRS. He's got half of his bar filled. Sipos Patrick just as much. These guys are really trying to run away right now, and they truly are. They're just 2 seconds between each other, and then 2.4 back to Bogan. He's up 2 positions, and like you said, into that podium place. So I'm sure there will be no team games played at Williams. But as long as everyone up front can keep it out of the wall right now. Go on. Who's in the wall?
Gelbervan is in the wall. Looked like there was contact between himself and Dave Gaming. It looked to me like the Mercedes just got a bit ahead of himself there and went into the side of Gelbervan, but I didn't really catch the whole thing. They were all very tightly bunched up behind Oxygen, who's going quite slowly at the moment in that Red Bull, definitely forming a bit of a train behind himself, and it was the 2 medium tire runners who got together. Not sure if Gelbervan was going more slowly than Dave would have been expecting pitting or what, but either way, contact between them ends up in Gelbevand going round. I'm not sure if Dave Gaming picked up any front wing damage. It doesn't look like it. So the German in the Mercedes, I think, is going to be okay as Iceman heads into the pits early, pulling an aggressive strategy, going onto a set of hard tires to try and go to the end of this race, trying to pull the undercut on the cars ahead as he was falling behind the two Williams in front of it.
Did he just have a penalty or something that he served? Because he was stopped for an awful long time as Horpa retires from the race. Not sure if he had wing damage or not, but it looked like Iceman got his tires changed and then he waited for like 5 seconds. Not sure if that was a visual glitch or if he served it earlier, but I'm sure the AlphaTauri driver will be looking to make up time now that he's on a fresh set of hard tires. But yeah, AOR Oxygen is a cork in the bottle right now. It's with a 3-car train with him right now. Well, 2 cars behind him, and then another 2 more in Fire and Zoran. Yes, Fire and Zoran, who are not too far back either and in DRS range. So he's really holding up the field and give the likes of like Iceman, who might have just lost some time in the pits to, you know, get back in front of that queue once they all start pitting.
Yeah, it's actually great news for Iceman. It's a very good point. He's going to be looking to filter back into that gap once everyone else comes into the pits. And he looks like he should be able to do that with ease at the very least. He'll be hoping, of course, that he can undercut those Williams up ahead, but they're looking pretty fast still on these soft tires. And as you say, the long pit stop will harm Iceman's chances in that regard as well. Horpa retiring from the session means it's yet another unfortunate race for the Spaniard, who just can't seem to string a race together to save his life. He managed 1 in the previous iteration of F2 before the season got restarted. He managed 1 good result. I think it was a 2nd place. But other than that, he's shown so much pace and no results to show for it. And once again, it's tragedy for him.
Yeah, it's tragedy for him, but his teammate is currently looking pretty good. Potato up to P10 now, Grant, because we've had 2 drivers pit behind him, and he's keeping a relatively similar pace to the guys in front, not falling off too far back. And if he can just keep it clean, keep it out of the wall, he might be able to steal a few more points than expected after starting all the way back in P14, just not having a good qualifying session this time around. So interested to see what the Alfa Romeo driver can do.
Yeah, and if there's anyone in chat, by the way, who wants to ask us any questions or just give any opinions on who they reckon is going to win the race or anything like that, feel free to do so. We do have it open, and we will be able to respond if you guys do have any questions. Bogan and Hittinen both just pitted on the same lap. Hittinen, why on earth have you done that? He's going to have to wait for his teammate now. Stacking in the pit lane. The tires take a while to come on as well. Hittinen, he had front wing damage and wanted to get it fixed as quickly as possible, but he's lost a good 10 seconds at least by pitting immediately behind his teammate. That's going to lose him track position to Iceman. And Hittinen, to cap it all off, he's gone onto a set of medium tires. I'd be very surprised if those can make it to the end from here. Hards seem like the obvious decision, and I think that was just just the worst pit stop that anyone has ever made, pretty much, by Hittinen there. Yeah. And the Finnish driver has pretty much thrown away all chances of a podium and maybe even of some good points.
Yeah, but he is in clean air, so we'll see if he can actually stretch his legs and maybe put on a show. But as of right now, you're absolutely right. He has just fallen back. He lost, it looks like 15 seconds to Bogan. Almost 14 seconds, it looks like. Because Iceman is 9 off of Bogan as our race leader comes into the pits. Is he going to strap? He strapped on a set of mediums as well. I guess these drivers think that the mediums can last the end. The game thought it could last the end from lap 11 and onward. So maybe the drivers know something that we don't in the commentary box. Simple's Patrick's going to come out right in the big train that Oxygen was holding up. This is not going to be good for our race leader, because if Shane can hold on a few more laps, making some time as the Renault of Zoran makes a beautiful move on Fire, who was not expecting Simple's Patrick to come out on the racing line, but he had the right to do it. And Zoran is up to P5 before the pits, as farther in the back, Prosty and who else just pitted? Potato are leaving the pits now, with Prosty now up behind Hittinen because of how much time Hittinen lost. He's going to have all the work cut out for him if he wants to get back up towards the front like he was before.
Yeah, the saving grace here for Hittinen after the decision to pit right there is the fact that Oxygen has been holding up the rest of the field so much that none of them, even though he lost all that time, he's still ahead of the likes of Prostychek, who was the car directly behind Oxygen before he came into the pits. And that opportunistic driving by Zoran, by the way, that's exactly what you need to do in Monaco. You need to take any half chance you get. And that was cutthroat stuff from the Renault. And it might be cutthroat stuff from Sipos Patrick here, who's looking to get his way past Dave Gaming and Oxygen. Oxygen into the pits, and Dave Gaming has been overtaken by the Ferrari into Raskas. That move was clean as you like from Sipos. Great driving from him. Now Zoran all over the back of Dave Gaming as well, but couldn't find yet another overtake this time around into Sandivot. Chanakinchi comes out of the pits behind Fire and Zoran and Dave Gaming as well. So 3 cars between himself and the race leader, Sipos Patrick. And Chanakinchi won't like that one bit. However, he hasn't been undercut by Bogan, so he's held on to provisional P2.
What's going to be interesting now in these coming laps is what will Dave Gaming and Zoran do, because they're just going to give Sipos Patrick all the breathing room in the world. And if Chanakinchi and Bogan can't make the overtakes around them, they'll be helping their own races, of course, but it's just going to give Sipos Patrick the win, essentially. He's going to be able to run away with it because they're on the older medium tires, and we know they're going deep into the race. The likes of Shannon might be trying for some bold moves like Sipos Patrick just did, but we'll have to wait and see because he is currently 2.5 seconds off of Zoran. He'll be up on him very soon.
Hittinen making his way past Oxygen into the Nouvelle Chicane, and that's critical because Hittinen is on those medium tires and he needs to make them work while they are better than the hards that are strapped onto the likes of Oxygen's Red Bull. And Oxygen has been holding up a lot of cars around here, and Hittinen could not afford to get stuck behind him as Fire makes a mistake into turn 1, and Chanakinchi says, thank you very much, I'll take P4 away. Fire, the only driver still out there on a set of soft tires at the moment, so the Turkish driver making his way past the Frenchman. And a quick shout out to Bumbleboo in chat. Thank you for the information. Apparently Gelbavand and Dave are desynced from one another, so that was not Dave's fault with the incident between themselves that saw Gelbavand going into the wall. In fact, it probably was just a mistake that Gelbavand made on his own, but it is hard to tell when you have these desynchronization issues.
Yeah, I've seen it in previous races, actually, in AOR America. This last race, we had a driver who didn't even show up to the driver in P2 didn't even see the driver in P3 the whole race. So it is definitely an issue that is becoming more common that hopefully Codemasters will fix. As Fire smacks the wall, those soft tires have to be dead on the Red Bull. He should definitely be coming to the pits this lap at the very least, because he's losing all the time in the world. He lost 3.5 seconds to Chanakinchi once Chan got around him, as he does dive into the pits. This will be the last of the soft tire runners to pit, and he should come out, should be ahead of Potato, but he'll come out behind the legs of Frosty.
Yeah, and because of him slamming the wall, it's a front wing change as well for the Red Bull pit crew. He, interestingly, wanted to go long on the softs, obviously because he wanted to go onto that set of medium tires, but people who pitted 4 laps ago went onto medium tires, reckoning that they can take them to the end. So evidently Fire doesn't have the same confidence in his ability to make those medium tires last to the very end of the race as the likes of Hittinen, Sipos Patrick, and Chanakinchi do, who all decided to go onto a set of mediums in their pit stops. Bogan, Iceman, Oxygen, who else? Potato and Gelbavand are the cars out there on the hard tires for the time being. And if those mediums can make it to the end, I feel like that was probably the right decision from those who went onto them, but it will require some time management, and they will be slower at the end of the race, but it shouldn't matter too much because, of course, it is so difficult to get past another car here.
Yeah, I mean, Sipos Patrick showed that it's not too difficult if you believe, but he is just flying out there, and Dave Gaming is now going to be a cork on the bottle for the likes of Chanakinchi and Bogan. Chan is going to need to get a move on if he wants to get a chance at even trying to get close to Sipos, who's 7 seconds clear. He's just running away with this race at the moment. Interesting thing to notice, even though Bogan is on those hard tires, he is falling off the likes of Dave Gaming and Zoran. So those two might be interesting to watch late in the race. Doing the reverse strategy might not be the best idea due to the overtaking difficulty. But if they can find ways to capitalize off of some of these older medium tire runners and the guys who are on hards as well, while they're probably going to be on a fresh set of softs, I'd be very, very happy to see some nice action around the track without drivers going into the wall.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what Dave Gaming and Zoran have up their sleeves for the remainder of the race. Hello to Steph Farrell in chat, who gives the weekly message that Fizzy, your volume is a little bit low.
Yeah.
So if there's anything you can do about that, that would be very much appreciated. It looks like Prostychek has managed to make his way past Oxygen. That was into the Lowe's hairpin. So the AlphaTauri making his way past the Red Bull. Again, difference in tire compound there as Prosty's on the mediums and Oxygen's on those hards. And Oxygen has not had the pace. He had it in qualifying, but in the race, he has been struggling and holding up cars left and right, and slowly they're trickling past him now.
Yeah, Prosty made a beautiful move into the Grand Hotel hairpin, just sent it up the inside. Slight contact, so it wasn't a perfect move, but he got the job done, was able to get around Oxygen. Now he's able to go hunt down other drivers like up ahead, like Hittinen right now, stuck behind his teammate. So if Prosty can get a move on and catch up to Hittinen and Iceman, he might be able to make it life hard for Hittinen, who definitely did not benefit half pitting when he did.
Yeah, certainly not. Losing a couple of positions, but actually not as much as he could have done. He's lost out to Iceman, and it might be at more risk to Dave Gaming and Zoran than he would be otherwise, but he's all over the back of Iceman at the moment because the Macedonian went onto those hard tires, whereas Hittinen went for the mediums. So if Hittinen can do like we've seen Prosty do and get past the hard-tired runner ahead, then there might still be hope for Hittinen to actually be finishing up in 4th position where it looked like he was destined to finish anyway. And here is the opportunity now as they exit the tunnel. He'll have to try and go around the outside of the first part of the Nouvelle chicane. There's no way you can make that work. And Hittinen having to cut across the chicane, didn't pick up a penalty for it. Meanwhile, Chanakinchi did pick up a penalty in the swimming pool section up ahead. Very close behind Zoran this time around on those older medium tires. And Chan looking to the outside of Sandivot. He might just about make it work as Zoran is giving him the space. Very respectful and fair driving from the Hungarian as he cedes P3 to Chanakinchi, and a good move from the Turkish driver.
That was a great move, Zoran.
Oh, Zoran! Wow! Sorry, Zoran almost just completely lost the car into the entry for the casino square there, but he held onto it beautifully.
Yes, and while that was happening, Hittinen just got around Iceman going into turn 1. He is up a position, but Prosty's all over the back of his teammate already. Prosty's flying out there, and it will be interesting to see if the AlphaTauri is going to play nice with each other, but I doubt it. But Prosty right now is looking very quick and ran down Iceman, but Hittinen is just going away as Iceman's pace just looks off, similar to what Oxygen was before, but it's just, hard tires just not working, it seems, for some of these drivers.
Yeah, and our own apology to Hittinen for saying that his pit stop was one of the worst I'd ever seen. It was still bad because he should not have come into the pits directly behind his teammate, regardless of his front wing situation. However, the decision to go onto the medium tires, turns out that was inspired and not a poor decision. Those on the hards are really struggling out here at the moment. The only one even remotely making them work right now seems to be Bogan up in P5. He's yet to be passed by anyone. He's got his teammate 10 seconds behind him as well, so he's not going to be under threat anytime soon. And probably by the time Hittinen could think about catching up to him, he is going to be losing too much life on his mediums to really think about making his way past his teammate. Iceman into the pits. That's got to be for front wing damage in the AlphaTauri. Looks like it. And interestingly, he didn't want to stay out there despite the front wing damage. He's going on to a set of mediums to the end of the race now.
Potato and Fire side by side coming out of turn 1. Fire trying to make a move on the Alfa Romeo driver, and he will get more straight line seed into Massenet and will take P9 away from Potato. Both drivers struggling a little bit out there, but nevertheless, some great battling all around the field right now. As looking at Chanakinchi is still struggling and stuck behind Dave. I know Bogan is closing in on Zoran and Dave at the moment. It's looking like the hard tires are working a little better than those older mediums. And those mediums being 15, now almost 16 laps old as Dave Gaming's losing the rear end a little bit. We saw Zoran lose the rear end a little bit. I wonder how much longer those tires have before the hards really take over on them. And how long into the race is Chan goes around the outside into turn 1. He smacks the wall. I believe he's missing. He might be having some wing damage after that as Dave Game is coming right back at him side by side. Going into Massenet, Chan will take the position away and will be up to P2.
Yeah, but at what cost? Looks like his front wing is actually okay. So Chanakinchi very much getting away with one there around the outside of Sandevot where you clip the wall. Usually that will end up with some carbon fiber going flying, but it doesn't seem to have been the case for the Turk, who makes his way back into P2 finally after passing Zoran and Dave Gaming and Fire all on track around Monaco, which is no mean feat, let me tell you. Dave's actually been doing a really good job of keeping a hold of these medium tires thus far. Until that, he lost time there battling with Chanakinchi. He'd actually built about 2.5 seconds to Zoran, who's on that similar medium tire, similarly aged medium tire. And actually, Dave was doing a much better job of holding on to it, as we saw by the fact that Chanakinchi was able to get past Zoran a few laps ago, but then it took him a couple more laps to think about making a move on the German in the Mercedes. Currently looking good in P3, but of course still yet to pit. A virtual safety car is really what Zoran and Dave Gaming need. The field has been spread out a fair amount, but now that Oxygen isn't really proving to be a cork in the bottle anymore, there are not really any big gaps, and no one's really being held up to allow Dave Gaming and Zoran to overcut anybody.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do think they will overcut the likes of Oxygen and Fire, judging by the gap right now. I think it'll be close, but I think they'll get them with how their pace is, because Chanakinchi's not really dropping Dave at the moment. Zoran is a little slower than the pair of them, but Dave is making those medium tires work. But Zoran's going to have to deal with Bogan now right up behind him. Bogan's really starting to go as Iceman sets the fastest lap of the race on a new set of medium tires. Not surprising, but I'm sure that lap time will get beaten once the likes of Dave Gaming and Zoran come into the pits later on.
Yeah, Iceman will be ruining this race thus far because he looked good in terms of raw pace, but he hit the wall at some point in his second stint and had to come back into the pits, and is now 8 seconds away from Potato in the Alfa Romeo, who is currently in the final point-paying position. However, Iceman will be happy to know that there's some support for the Side Max boys. That's Iceman, Prosticek, Sipos Patrick, and I think maybe Chanakinchi as well, as now Dave Gaming heading into the pits. Let's see where he is going to funnel out. Will it be ahead of Prosticek? That's the gap I'm watching for the time being. If Dave can manage to get ahead of Prosticek, he will have overcut the AlphaTauri driver, and he'll be feeling good about that. Unfortunately, not really close enough to do that in the end. The Czech driver makes his way up into P6. Dave will filter out ahead of Oxygen at the very least.
Interesting to see how he put on the hard set tires. Didn't want to last to go for the softs. We'll have to see if it'll work for him, but I mean, he'll definitely make it to the end of the race, that's for sure. But I was definitely surprised to see him come in that early. We're not even halfway into the race. He didn't have a wing change, I don't believe. But we're about halfway into the race, so we'll have to see how he gets on with it with the rest of his race on those hard tires, which I'm sure will be a lot faster than some of these drivers around him. As was Patrick showing off with a 17.5-second gap. He is just flying up front.
Yeah, he is really putting on a clinic in this race, as he has done really at the last 2 Grands Prix as well, but not quite to this extent, in all honesty. And yeah, he's really making a statement here, as he was kind of maybe the one who was a bit left behind in terms of the front runners from F2 before the consolidation of the leagues. Everyone else that he was a front runner alongside, they all got moved up to F1. Sipos was the odd one out who stayed down here in P2, and he will be looking to prove that he should have been up there in F1, I should say, as he's currently in P1 in this race by a huge margin. And at Monaco, that is, that's a supreme display of talent from the Ferrari driver. Bogan now very close behind Zoran on that 12-lap-old set of hard tires. Zoran on a 19-lap-old set of mediums, the only driver still in this race to be on the same set of tires that he started the race on. And will we see him head into the pits at the end of this lap and sort of mirror what we've seen out of Dave Gaming? Or does Zoran believe that he can elongate this stint long enough to be able to go onto a set of softs to the end? Evidently, Dave either decided that he needed to pit then to make sure that he came out ahead of Oxygen, or decided that those mediums were not going to last.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. I mean, Dave Gaming's not really gaining on Prosty. I think he might be falling back a little, judging by how the gap looks like at the moment. But it does look like Zoran's pace has dropped off tremendously, and he's just kind of holding on for dear life up there. Not sure where he'll come out at the moment, but we'll have to wait and see what the runner-driver decides.
Yeah, Bogan chasing him hard at the moment, but almost losing the car on the exit of Saint Devot in the Williams. So he's right on the edge right now as he's pushing as hard as he can on those hard tires. His teammate behind on the mediums. Remember when that gap was 10 seconds? It's now 3.6. Hittinen might still be in with a shout of trying to claim the bottom step of the podium here, despite that botched pit stop that he had, having to wait, double stacking with his teammate when he was coming into the pits less than a second behind him. And yeah, losing about 14 seconds in total in that pit stop. But he has eviscerated that gap now with the compound advantage he has over his teammate, and the fact that Bogan is now stuck behind Zoran, who's not moving very fast at this stage of the race. So Hittonen with an opportunity in the Williams.
Yeah, definitely showing that, hey, I might have made a mistake when I pitted, but that doesn't mean anything less than me right now. I'm flying. And he truly is flying around the track. He's now under 3 seconds behind Bogan, who's just kind of held up by Zoran there. It's unfortunate for the Williams driver, but it's Iceman grabbing a 3-second time penalty. He's all in the back of Potato right now. Wonder if he'll try to make a move before the end of this lap or at the start of the next. The AlphaTauri driver, of course, like we said before. Disappointing with how his race has gone so far. He showed a lot of pace, but he's still trying to get some points out of this as he's battling for the last points-paying position coming onto the start straight.
Yeah, and he's really, really close behind the rear wing of that Alfa Romeo now with the DRS, and is dumping his ERS as well, but the straight's not quite long enough. He sticks his nose up the inside just in case he can convince Potato to crash on the outside of Sandevot. He was not able to do so, and the British driver will hold on to P10 for the time being, and he will be desperately clinging to that one, as he did actually manage, I believe, no, he didn't manage to score last time out. He finished P11, the Alfa Romeo driver, so he will be really hoping to manage to get 1 point here for P10, given that he came so close last time out. The two Red Bulls are side by side through the tunnel. Fire with the tire advantage in terms of compound and makes his way past Oxygen, who is dropping like a stone in this race. Currently in the points still with a 7.5 second gap to Potato behind, but if Iceman makes his way past the Brit, then he will surely close down Oxygen incredibly quickly.
Yeah, Oxygen's playing the long race right now. He doesn't have, it looks like, the pace, but he's keeping it clean, keeping out of the wall, which I feel like is more important than anything else right now, as he's still up in the points as a result, while the likes of Iceman have had to pit once again. But the pace that he has just might not be enough, as there's a gap all the way up to like Bogan and Hittonen right now in comparison. Hittonen's dropped he's 2.4 behind Bogan now. Still gaining, but not gaining at the rate announcement we saw before, as Iceman makes the move into turn 1 on Potato. We missed that on screen, but I'm sure he made quick work of Potato there. He's up to P10 and is looking to chase down the two Red Bull drivers.
Yeah, Dave is starting to close down Prostychek as well. Prosty sitting in P6 for the time being. Doesn't look to have any front wing damage, but there is a sort of cliff that these medium tires hit around here. We saw both Zoran and Dave Gaming lose a heap of pace after about 16 laps on that set of medium tires. Maybe it wasn't quite that many. And now Prosty is into 14 laps into his stint and looks to be starting to be closed down by Dave Gaming. The gap has descended by about 3/10 over the course of that last lap. However, Dave, with a slightly poor final sector, will bring that up to 3.2 seconds for the time being. However, it's only going to get better and better for those fresh hards compared to the old mediums, as now Bogan has managed to make his way past Zoran, who is still out there on 23-lap old medium tires. Oxygen came into the pit, so did Potato. So I'm not sure if they had front wing damage or what, but they are falling well down the order and to the very bottom end of the points for Oxygen and out of the points for Potato, who does indeed have a front wing change in the pits.
As both drivers will also get lapped by our race leader, who's got a nice 20-second margin. You know, if he really wants to get all the points, he could actually pit for a set of soft tires late in the race and probably go for fastest lap with that kind of a gap. We'll have to wait and see what the Ferrari driver does decide, but he's got all options open at the moment. But Dave Gaming right now is flying out there, and Bumbleboo, we appreciate your support for it. And yeah, it is cool to definitely have multiple POVs seeing how these drivers do. But Dave Gaming is definitely looking pretty quick out there on the hards. Nothing too astronomical, but he is definitely driving very well. And when Zoran decides to pit, he's going to come out well behind Dave Gaming. He will not be close like he was before.
We've got quite a few laps left in this race, and we've seen what happens on those medium tires, the cliff that they hit. There's going to be plenty of time for Dave Gaming to close down Prostychek and maybe make his way past. All it will take is one mistake from the Czech driver, and then it's only 5 seconds to Hittonen, to Zoran, who will, of course, is yet is still yet to pit, so he's going to come into the pits at some point in this race. But Bogan up ahead as well, and that's the podium. So Dave isn't really that far away from the podium if he can just sort out his pace on those hard tires, get a few really decent laps together, and start putting Prostychek under pressure. Then the Czech driver might just crumble because he's going to be struggling now with the traction on those rear tires and understeering through the likes of Tabak as well. He might just hit the wall and make the mistake which will open the door for the German behind. Potato picking up yet another 3-second time penalty in this race. Hittinen is closed right up to the back of Zoran in the Renault, who is struggling so much on those 24-lap-old mediums. Even Hittinen, whose tires, who himself is on 17-lap-old mediums, definitely has the advantage on the Hungarian up ahead, and still Zoran refuses to pit.
Yeah, Zoran, I think, is just trying to last a little longer so he can get the soft tires working. He's hitting in. Every time he's up on Zoran, loses the rear end. His tires are working way more than Zoran's, but he's still getting the same effect that Zoran has been getting a lot, and just losing the rear end on the tires. And every lap that Hittinen does not get around Zoran, it's just going to free up Bogan to try to run away with that place. But would love to see if Hittinen can get around him and put a fight on with the Williams, with his teammate. But we'll have to wait and see, because he has to get a move on it with it now. And I don't think he can wait any longer for Zoran to pit, because he's just losing time right now to Bogan.
Nobody wants points in this race. Iceman got his way back up into the points with the demise of Potato and Oxygen, but then promptly headed into the pits to fix a front wing that had been slightly damaged the lap before. So yeah, the Macedonian will now be down back in P11, and this time it's Gelbevand in the game of musical chairs who's able to claim the bottom end of the points, chugging around with front wing damage in that racing point, but not deciding to pit out of frustration, like we saw Iceman, Potato, and Oxygen all decide to do in the last few laps. Hittinen still pushing, and yeah, Sipos' pace has been incredible thus far in this race. He's currently running in the mid to low 112s after a long period of 12.3s. His tires are starting to fall away from him now, but the same will be true of Chanakinchi behind, and the gap to Bogan is 32 seconds, so he definitely doesn't have to worry about him. Now Hittinen has made his way past Zoran into Casino Square. That move got done, so Zoran still out there and still losing time.
He's out there losing time, literally trying to see if he can maximize his time on the softs, but I think at this point he's just shooting himself in the foot. Not sure if pitting for the hards early was the best decision, but it's clearly way better than what Zoran's doing right now and what Dave Gaming did. It's interesting to see how the reverse strategy is not really working around here like it does at other tracks. But let's have to wait and see what he can do on these last few laps, but I don't think he'll have the pace to close up the gap that we have seen, as Sipos Patrick is currently has, I believe, Oxygen for companies. Oxygen just put on fresh set of tires. The two of them, Oxygen's currently under blue flags, and Sipos Patrick, our race leader. Interesting to see if Oxygen can get around Sipos Patrick, but he's got to be careful. There's been a crash. I think Potato is into the wall out of Casino Square. Not sure what happened there. Looks like he might have a little bit of wing damage. Camera angles not really helping right now, but yes, he is missing part of his left front wing. That is not good for the Alfa Romeo driver who was trying to get back into the points.
Zoran has finally come into the pits in the Renault. Where will he filter out on a fresh set of soft tires? It is P8, so he'll be ahead of Oxygen and therefore not lapped by Sipos, as those two are still battling with Oxygen a lap down. Thankfully, because lap cars get ghosted, we're not going to see any Max Verstappen, Esteban Ocon sort of incidents, as I'm sure Sipos is very annoyed, though, having that Red Bull driving through him for the last lap or so. Definitely affects your concentration. He has lost about 0.8 of a second on that last lap to Chanakinchi, although that might just be the tire differential as well, as Sipos' tires are already hitting the cliff. Chanakinchi's, that extra 2 laps of life in them will be at its peak right now in terms of effectiveness. Potato into the pits to fix that front wing and picking up a 5-second time penalty. I think he's going to retire, and he does. So both Alfa Romeos failing to make the checkered flag in this race. But now, I really want to see what Zoran can do. In P8 at the moment, he was ahead of, just behind Dave Gaming before Dave came into the pits, and now, thanks to the undercut of Dave Gaming, he has gained 12.5 seconds on the Hungarian, but Zoran will eviscerate that gap if only he can get past the Frenchman up ahead of him at the moment, and Fire, in accordance, has a rough run through Anthony Noge and gives Zoran the opportunity around the outside into Sandoval. He has so much more grip. and he will make the move into P7. So Zoran now has 12.5 seconds of clean air to work with and a very fresh set of soft tires.
Yeah, Zoran's going to be mighty quick in these last few laps. We might look out for him. He might be able to make something out of it, of his strategy, which looked like a horrible idea, but he is really quick on those soft tires late in the race. But I just don't think he has enough time. I mean, there are, what, 9 laps left? 8.5? But actually, he has 9 because Sipos Patrick is on lap 30 now, and he is only a couple corners behind him. But yeah, we'll have to see what Zoran can do. It looked like Fire was getting a little too feisty on the straight there. It was moving a little too much, but Zoran had enough grip to make it work. Skelbovan and Iceman are currently battling for the final points-paying position. It's going side by side into...
That never's going to work.
I'll let you take over.
Yeah, sorry, I just got too into it there. That almost never works when you send it up the inside of Mirabeau because the corner tightens throughout, and it didn't work for Gelbavand, who had to jam on the brakes to avoid any further front wing damage. And Iceman getting past the racing point and taking the final point-scoring position away. Up ahead of them is Oxygen, who is still being a nuisance to Sipos Patrick. If I'm Sipos and Oxygen is consistently driving at my pace, I'm just going to slow down for a couple of seconds, give myself a little bit of clean air, because having this Red Bull driving through me, literally driving through me, is just going to make me more likely to have some kind of incident. And an incident is the only way that Sipos can throw this race away now. And I think that the fact that this is going to be affecting his concentration will be really hurting him, in all honesty. He's still managing to gap Chanakinchi no problem, as it looks like Bogan has had some kind of issue in the Williams. In fact, I think he's left the session because he just ghosted and hit and drove straight through him. Or did he have an incident and ghost on the end of it?
He spun in the Novell chicane and was starting to accelerate when Hittinen went through the Novell chicane, and rather than keeping his car solid, it ghosted him, so Hittinen just drove right through him, and today I'll take the position if he's going to be driving real slow, which deserved, but Bogan absolutely losing the gap he had on his teammate, though he will have the tire advantage, I believe, at this stage in the race, but they're definitely not going to be too friendly to him anymore after having that spin in the Novell chicane.
Yeah, at the moment in the midfield, it's a case of there's always a bigger fish, or in this case, there's always a fish with better tires, because Dave Gaming is now closing down Prostychek comfortably. He's got just now within DRS range of the Czech driver, who's struggling now on those 22-lap-old mediums. However, Dave Gaming is himself being closed down by Zoran further behind. The gap has gone down by about 5 seconds in the last couple of laps, and Zoran is pushing so hard in that Renault. So it's going to concertina up behind Prostychek unless Dave Gaming can make his way past the AlphaTauri. And every lap he's stuck behind this AlphaTauri, Zoran is going to be gaining that much more time on the Mercedes driver, who will struggle to defend from a freshly shod soft runner with his 12-lap-old hard tires.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting to see, as also it looks like Sipos has heard you and has let AOR Oxygen give him a little bit of breathing space, I guess, because, I mean, those tires are definitely not going to be as good as Oxygen's, but the fact that he was still keeping with the Red Bull driver just goes to show how much pace Sipos Patrick has at the front of the field. Just an absolutely blistering performance from the Ferrari driver. There wasn't any point during this race where it looked like he was in trouble of not winning the race. Beautiful drive by the Hungarian.
Yeah, just really, really astounding stuff, in all honesty. At some point, maybe it doesn't make the race the most exciting at the very front when this guy's leading by 21.5 seconds now. But at some point, you just have to look at it and applaud, because this is just incredible driving, incredible consistency, as well as he has not picked up a jot of front wing damage. He hasn't had any sort of major moment that we've seen, and he's just looked really, really comfortable out there in the lead. Zoran still closing down Dave Gaming. And I would like to point out that Steph Farrell is an absolute savant, because Zoran did exactly a 1:10.9 on his last lap on those soft tires. So hats off to you for predicting that one, Steph. Very, very impressive stuff. 4.5 seconds now between Zoran and Dave. And with only 6 laps left to go once they cross the line, it's going to be getting a bit tight for Zoran at the end. He will reach the back of Prostychek and Dave, but he will still have to make the move once he gets there. And in Monaco, if Zoran has been making his moves, when he has made a move, it's been into Saint-Devote at the end of the DRS zone. But Dave will have DRS on Prostychek as well, so it's going to be even harder than usual to pass a car in Monaco.
Yeah, and on top of that, I mean, well, actually, I don't have it on top of it. I just lost my train of thought. But according to our chat, Zoran is predicted to catch him around lap 37. He might catch him a little sooner, actually. He gained 2 seconds on the previous lap, or 2 laps ago. On that lap, he gained a second and a half, and I'm measuring it through turn 6, through the Lowe's hairpin. Or, no, Grand Hotel hairpin, sorry. But he's gaining about a second to 2 seconds a lap on Dave, so I think he'll get him a little quicker than lap 37. But we'll have to see if any of the drivers ahead make a mistake with Dave all up behind Prosty, Bogan all up behind his teammate going through the final 2 corners. Bogan wants to make the move around his teammate. He's hitting his tires. It looked like they've finally fallen off, and it looks like the Williams in P4 has the advantage. Not sure if either of them have time penalties, though, which could affect it, but if not, then these two are game on for the final podium spot.
I believe Bogan does have at least 1 3-second time penalty. I will double check that. I'm pretty sure. Hittinen does have a penalty as well. I don't think we need to worry about Chanakinchi and Sipos's penalty situation because they have huge gaps. So I don't think they are going to be too concerned about that. Dave Gaming is stagnating a little bit behind Prostychek right now. He can't seem to find the opportunity. Prostychek keeping it on the island in that AlphaTauri and doing a good job of holding Dave behind. Dave thought about it there just for a moment into the hairpin Grand Hotel Lowe's station. Call it what you want. It's all the same. And it's one of the better overtaking opportunities around here, in all honesty. But Dave wasn't willing to send that one up the inside this time around. Here is the best opportunity. If you can get a good run through Portier, you might have a chance into the Nouvelle Chicane. But Prosty is comfortably ahead of Dave through there. And, yeah, maybe skipping a little bit of the chicane there was Prostychek, so he'll have picked up a warning for that one, I suspect. Not sure about their penalty situation. It looks like Gelbevand is into the wall in Saint-Devot, but Gelbevand was running around outside of the points anyway. Close to Iceman, but now nowhere near. So that is pretty much guaranteeing the final point for the Macedonian.
Yeah, and it was predicted that Zoran would catch up on lap 36 by Steph, but it looks like he got up closer. Is Dave Gaming going to make the move into turn 1? No, not close enough. And now we got a 3-course battle for P5. Similar situation to what we have for P3, where the hard tire runner is behind an old medium tire runner, but there's just not enough grip, it seems, in those hard tires to make it work. Now Zoran here, we'll see if he can make a move into one of these corners coming up. He's got so much more pace. Maybe he'll make a move into the Grand Hotel hairpin. I would not be surprised to see him brake late, but he does not. There's just not enough room with how big these cars are nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, Prosty even went defensive into Mirabeau, which usually gives the opportunity to the car behind to try and make the move into the hairpin, but Dave still couldn't get close enough to the rear wing of that AlphaTauri, and now Zoran is behind him, and that's going to ignite a fire beneath him and get him, convince him that he needs to get a move on here if he doesn't want to fall prey to the Hungarian behind, who is certainly, definitely faster than these two right now because of the tire advantage that he has in that Renault. But he almost lost it there through the swimming pool section up towards La Rascasse. Zoran right on the edge of grip there and almost into the wall, but he holds on to it. Meanwhile, further up the head, it's the two Williams going side by side up the hill. Through Beau Rivage they go and into Massenet, and Hittinen holds on to it for the time being. And he will still be ahead when they get into the Casino Square as well. Bogan, major moment there for him as Dave was alongside Prostychek behind as well, but he still couldn't make the move. He's getting closer and closer as he almost loses it into the Casino Square as well. That was pretty much just an exact repeat of what happened between the Williams up ahead. Once again, Dave thinking about the move into the hairpin, but no space and not enough overspeed on Prostychek ahead to consider it.
There's so much action going around Monaco, of all places, on these last few laps. You have the Williams drivers battling for P3. There's a 3-way battle for P5. The two Red Bull drivers going at it for P8 right now. Oxygen showing a little bit of pace. It's not sure if Fire had an issue, but there is so much going on with 3.5 laps to go for most of these drivers. The Sipos just absolutely flying ahead of them with Chan far off, but not too far off. But we'll have to see if Bogan can make a move into turn 1 this lap. Not sure if he's close enough. He doesn't really have much in the way of ERS, as he will just hold position as AOR Oxygen makes the move on Fire. Not sure if Fire locked up. Looks like he might be missing an end plate, which would explain his lack of pace. But
Here comes Dave Gaming, though. He might look to the inside of turn 1. Not quite enough there to go onto the brakes, but he thought about it. He got so close to Prostychek, but he wasn't quite close enough. I thought he was going to make the move, but he didn't do it, and now he's going to be stuck behind Prostychek once again. Prosty has been good through Mirabeau, and that's been saving him thus far this race, because it's meant that Dave hasn't had the opportunity to send up the inside into the hairpin. Prosty, the tail wagging in that Alpha Tauri. The bull's tail up ahead is definitely all over the place right now with those rear tires. 28 lap-old mediums for Prostychek, 18 lap-old hards, and 9 lap-old softs is this train of cars, but Zoran doesn't really look like he can do anything to Dave Gaming, and I'm sure that's because Dave has the advantage of that extra car ahead, meaning that Zoran's DRS advantage on Dave is completely nullified. Now through Tabak they go. Prosty with another mistake into the swimming pool. Dave once again wanting to go to the inside, but he just can't do it. There's carbon fiber lying around on the road there. I'm not sure whose car that used to belong to, but Dave needs to keep it together through Anthony Noge. He's got a good run, but Prosty's looks even better, and he manages to build up the gap just a little bit to the German behind. Dave can't think about the move this time around either, and he's running out of time now in the Mercedes.
There's 2 laps to go now. He's going to have to make the move now or never. He doesn't have enough time to wait any longer. He still has the tire advantage. He's got Zorn still behind him, but the thing he's got to think about is any mistake he makes is as Prosty goes defensive into Mirabeau. Will that open the door for Dave into the hairpin? No, it does not again. So Dave will hold position once again as well.
Yeah, Prosty seems to be getting away with going defensive into Mirabeau. It's not allowing Dave to get the switch back on him because the straight between Mirabeau, well, it's not even a straight. The little bit of track between Mirabeau and the hairpin is not long enough for Dave Gaming to make that traction advantage work on the Czech driver up ahead of him. Prostychek's doing a great job of keeping everything on the island for the time being. Once again, it's into the swimming pool where Dave looks better, but oh no, he loses the car and into the wall he goes. Now Zoran behind him has the opportunity to try and get past Dave Gaming. Dave has front wing damage as well, but he tries to battle back through Raskas and now Anthony Noge as well, but Zoran around the outside of the final corner will move up into P6, and Dave's heart will be sinking in the Mercedes. He let his frustration just get the better of him, and he made the mistake in the swimming pool section, and as a result, instead of gaining P5, he's fallen to P7.
And he should hold P7 by the end of the race, so he's in no threat from Oxygen behind. As Sipos Patrick crosses the line and wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Didn't even see how far along the track he was, as he has claimed the victory. Not surprising, that's for sure. But what a drive by the Hungarian, as Chana Kinshi also an absolutely insane drive. We haven't talked about him that much, but in P2 with an 18-second gap to those 2 battling Williams, where it looks like Hitman will have P3. Chana Kinshi crosses the line and will claim P2 and has 6 seconds of penalties, I believe, and he finishes 32.2 seconds off. That is absolutely crazy. As we go a little bit farther down the order, Hitman and Bogan are coming around the final corners as well. Bogan not able to get back past his teammate, and it looked like his issue into the Nobel chicane cost him that podium.
Zoran's not going to be close enough behind Prostychek, I don't think, as they head through the final corner. Prostychek will hold on to P5, but we'll see. Once the penalties factor in, this could still change around here in the midfield. I don't think either of them actually had any penalties in the end. Dave Gaming comes across the line. He had a 3-second time penalty anyway, so even if he had got past Prostychek right at the end there, I doubt he would have been able to hold on to the position. And now Oxygen will be the final car over the line to claim P8 in this race. 1 position, but a whole lap in the end ahead of his teammate, because Thaya was lapped and Oxygen was not. But yeah, Chana Kinshi at the front, it's really interesting because he was so far ahead of the rest of the field that if it hadn't been for Sipos Patrick being in this race, we would be talking about how Chana Kinshi was just dominant here today. We would be saying, Chana Kinshi, what a driver this is. He is definitely the class of the field here in F2, but Sipos went and doubled that and went so much better than the Turkish driver was able to do. And what a performance it was in the end, really, from Sipos. You've got to take your hats off to him there, because that is a fantastic drive from the Hungarian.
It was fantastic and very clean, as you could ask for. Two of them at the front, just absolutely phenomenal races and securing that 1-2 finish. Chen's definitely has to be elated about that result after what happened in Spain. Sipos as well, got to be happy that he was able to secure the win after losing it due to penalties in the last race, as that will finalize our order by the looks of it. We might see some incidents in the stewards, but I'm sure the Gelbovan incident we'll probably end up seeing, even though Dave did claim that there was desync, which I am not surprised, as the game has been a little glitchy. But our final podium finishing position is Sipos Patrick P1, Chan Akinci P2, and Hittinen P3.
Yeah, and a great race, actually, by Monaco's standards. I mean, maybe not at the very front, but there was a lot of battling throughout the midfield, differing strategies as well. It all came to a head with 3 cars on 3 different compounds of tires battling to the line. Unfortunately, it was Dave Gaming that lost out in that battle. Prostychek managing to hold on despite the odds. Track position once again proving king in the end, but we did see a fair amount of overtakes as well, though usually because of tire advantages.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through the lap times right now. Sipos Patrick was averaging 11s to 12s in his stint, and only got into the 13th in the last 10 laps of the race. Absolutely blistering pace from the Ferrari driver. He was at a 12.8 on lap 33 on what was over 20 lap old mediums. That is absolutely phenomenal from him. So I don't think you could have asked for any more from him today. And of course, the rest of the field had absolutely great drives today. It's unfortunate that we had a couple DNFs and the Alfa Romeo drivers weren't able to do well. But nevertheless, still a very exciting race. Who was your driver of the day here?
I mean, I think, the answer has got to be Sipos Patrick, right? You can't win by that far in Monaco without making a single mistake, without picking up a single penalty. And this is a driver who's had trouble with the amount of penalties he's been picking up this season. It's cost him a win. It almost cost him a win in the Dutch Grand Prix. It cost him a win in the Spanish Grand Prix. But this time around, 0 penalties, didn't get any front wing damage at Monaco, and all the while managing to hold on to that amazing pace. So I got to say that it was just in another world today.
Yes, I do have to agree. Sipos Patrick, hands down. Also, Chan, if you take Sipos Patrick aside, I definitely have Chan as my other driver of the day as well, considering he too was just on another world of pace compared to the rest of the field. Hats off to the two of them. Very well-deserved P1 and P2 finishes, but we'll have to see what the coming races bring. I mean, Sipos Patrick is just absolutely flying out there, but if you do recall, Carrillo was on similar pace as Sipos Patrick in Spain, but of course he was not here today, so I'm curious to see how the likes of him would, when they come out to battling. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I believe the next race is Canada, correct? Or no, it's Baku, actually.
Oh, sorry, yeah, no, Baku.
Yeah, the
Indeed.
order's a little different this year than it was last year. I remember getting excited after Monaco. I'm like, finally it's over, let's go to Canada. But nope, we will be having another track that likes to take front wings. So we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But yeah, Doran did make the strategy work, according to Leopard in the chat. He did a very good job. I did not think he would actually close the gap like he did, to be honest.
Yeah, no, Zoran would be a good shout for driver of the day if it wasn't for the top two being quite as dominant as they were. Hittinen did a great job as well compared to what we've seen from him thus far in F2, in the sort of aborted F2 season as well. So good stuff from the Finn. And Dave Gaming as well, also running that contra strategy, almost worked even better for him than it did for Zoran, but losing it right at the death.
Yeah, Dave was able to make the medium to hard tire strategy work. Like, the only driver to do that. He made it work very well for him, and I was very surprised at how he made that work. But it's unfortunate that he got the wing damage, and yeah, that pass at the end of the race by Zoran was definitely phenomenal. Of course, he benefited from the broken wing from Dave Gaming, but still, that doesn't make it any less special, because that was just an absolutely brave move that he knew how to get done.
Indeed, yes. I think that's all from my end. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, that is all from me. Thank you to everyone watching today, as we have 38 viewers to end the stream. We actually had, at one point in the race, 74. So thank you to everyone who's tuning in to AOR. I mean, we had a nice increase around, 4:05 p.m. for my time. I don't know what time it is for you right now. But we appreciate all the viewers who have come to watch the race today, and we appreciate it every week. And we'll be back here in 2 weeks, not 1, 2 weeks, for the Baku Grand Prix, which will be round 3 of our revamped AOR PCF2 Championship. That is all from me. Thank you for watching. I am Fizzymon, aka Brendan, and alongside me, as always, is Jacob, correct? A ladder.
Yes.
And we thank you
Indeed.
for watching, and we hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening.